right, so the Windows 10 compatibility really applies to Connector 9, Forms 9, Laserfiche 9, Web Access 9, WebLink 9, and on down the list. So the next topic to talk about is ransomware. I would love to hear anybody here who's willing to fess up and say whether they've been victim to ransomware. Anybody? Nobody? No? Not you, but it did happen in your office, yeah. Interesting. So we've had 2 customers report to us that they had ransomware issues in the last, we'll say 2 months maybe, and both, well, at least one of the cases was easily resolved, another was not. So one thing to be careful of is you do have antivirus, right? Hopefully everybody here and everybody, all of our users are using antivirus to protect their system, but apparently this is still a pretty big issue. So just want to paint the picture to describe the situation so you have a good idea of what has occurred to a couple of our customers. One of our customers was a cloud-hosted customer, so we were hosting their environment and they had network folders available. So a user downloaded and installed a virus that turned into ransomware. For those of you who don't know what ransomware is, it installs a virus that will grab all your files that you have access to, zip them up in an encrypted file, and then put a little message there telling you where to go and deposit money so you can get a key to unlock your files. Horrible situation. But anyway, that happened to one of our customers who clicked on that, and it somehow got by the antivirus. And lucky for us, and I have a good point to this, we had all backup going on in their entire system, so it wasn't a problem to restore it, and it never even got to the Laserfiche files. And I want to make sure to mention this specifically. You do not want to have your Laserfiche volumes in a shared folder. That is not the right way to set this up. So if you did have it in a shared folder, something like a ransomware could view those folders and hence could get to the volumes and encrypt all of those volumes. Now, if you have a good backup set up, you'd be okay to restore all those without any fear of ransomware, but why have to go through all that headache and restore all your files? Just double check, and most of the IT administrators here, I'm sure, are just kind of shaking their head like, of course, obviously, we are not going to give a share folder, but I think it's a good idea to just bring that up. You do not want to have shared folders, and Laserfiche will not be affected by ransomware as long as their folders are squared away. So that's a big point to bring up, just because I've seen that an uptick in that. A couple of people here once a month reporting us that they've had that issue. The next thing to mention is for Laserfiche 9.2.1, the service pack roll-up is available, and you may download it from our FTP. It's sometimes a little easier for customers just to visit our FTP and pull them down. We try to put everything in one big directory so it's real easy for you to just select what you need. You can always go to the Laserfiche support site and access this, but again, it's right here conveniently for you if you want to just find that and download it. Mike Richardson, our support director, also wanted me to pass along that if you have any scanner or backup questions, you can also visit the webinar docs right here, and it's got a lot of sort of tips and tricks regarding the scanner and backup questions. All right, so moving on to our first session of the day. This is satisfy public records requests in record time, and we're going to use WebLink workflow and forms. And I love this topic because I was in a meeting just a couple of weeks ago, and a customer actually brought up this idea, and they said, what we want to do, our goal is to be able to deliver these documents out to the public, but we don't want everything out there. They're public documents, but we don't want them all publicly available in WebLink. If you have WebLink or public portal, that means that Google can actually crawl your entire index and put it all out there on the web. So if you've ever gone searching for things and the word Laserfiche is in there, you probably pull up the city of Oshkosh's WebLink with everything in it, which is fine because that's great. It gives you ability to disseminate all that information. But a lot of our customers say, well, we don't want everything that's public out there. We just want, you know, minutes, agendas, packets, commission meetings, all that kind of thing. And the rest of it, we'll make it available as is requested. So we've got a solution here where a public citizen can go in and request a public document. They can receive that document digitally and make it available via WebLink, but only for a limited amount of time, and they'll have a link to that exact document. So that way, again, not everything is being put out there on the web. So the challenges were, again, how to provide an online submission form. Do you just build it on the web? Do you put a PDF out there and they fill an electronic PDF and then you that down the road? put it into Laserfiche, file it away. What do we do there? Notification. How do we notify the records manager that we have this request, this actual process? How do we do that? Then how do we have that deadline set, because we obviously don't want a request to come in and have it sit there for a couple of weeks or for an unreasonably large amount of time. We want a deadline in place. Then we want to have limited access, so a smaller amount of records available, and rather than the full amount. And then delivery notifications. So the requester has a notification that that document is available, and try to build this out in the most automated way. So our benefit of the automation is that we have request options for the new generation of that file, receive notification via email or service, automatic reminder, and escalation reminder. So if anybody remembers from this morning, we're talking about the payroll report and how we'll ratchet up those notifications and ensure that somebody receives repeated notifications and then maybe even alter it and send it to someone else. Automatic reminder and escalation, that delivery of documents on an as-needed basis. So again, instead of putting everything out there, we'll be able to do it, sort of pinpoint what's needed and make that all real time. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at that exact solution. So we built this in Laserfiche Forms, our favorite new friend, Laserfiche Forms. And I'll just show you how easy this was. I built this myself in a pretty short amount of time, maybe 10 minutes. I built the form. I let Eric build the business process. Eric's back there grinning, saying, "Sure you did." Anyway, so here's our public records request. Not too many fields on it. Pretty quick and easy. I have a total amount. You might charge dollars for this, certain amount of dollars for copies, maybe generate a copy somehow, or you have some way to reclaim some dollars. It's different in every state, and depending on how you want to handle that, you can actually insert our payment module directly into Laserfiche Forms and collect payment through here. So you could actually have someone enter in their credit card and receive payment. It's pretty handy. All right, so let's take a look at this form. What actually happens on the back end? Well, we've got a workflow that goes through an approval. It updates the request ID, gets sent to Laserfiche, saves there into Laserfiche. So that's what's going to happen on the back end with our form. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and request something. You can see I've got my formatting here. I've got the Laserfiche corporate form formatting. You can make this whatever you'd like. I have the date of the request is read-only, so nobody can alter that. It's just auto-populated. I've got a request ID, which is just an increment number. You can make that whatever you want. And I have the public records that are able to be delivered publicly. Of course, you're going to have a lot of different options in here, but this just gives you an idea. A drop-down list. It's kind of handy. Document description. All right, so I'm going to scroll down, put my contact name in there. Again, I know there's records managers and city clerks who will probably say, this is not at all how we would do this, but it gives you an idea that we could easily configure it differently if need be. So I've got that all filled out, and I click Submit. The citizen's able to download that and store it. I can print it, or I can email a copy. And as mentioned earlier in the morning, we can also automatically have a copy of this emailed out as a document to the citizen that requested it, if we wanted to do that. Okay, so the next step in that process is that gets sent as a task. So let's imagine I'm the records manager, or I might be the city clerk, whoever's in charge of just reviewing those public records requests. I get a notice to my inbox. And of course, harkening back to this morning, we could easily do that on my mobile device. I could get my notification, take a look at that form, and review it. So here's the public records request that came in. And my next step is, well, am I going to approve or deny that? Typically, you're probably going to approve it because you had a drop-down list, and it had to be a document type of one of those from the drop-down list. But certainly, if they're asking for something, a complaint or something that's not public information, you could easily reject it and then send an email notice to the citizen letting them know why. But we'll go ahead and say, you know, this is good to go, so go ahead and process this. So that's now dropped out of my inbox, and I don't have anything left to do in the inbox for public records. The next step, if you'll recall, was that I was going to have that drop down in my Laserfiche system. That's my next step in this process. We tried to make this just easy to follow in a demonstration, so what we did was have that drop down to our public records request folder. And in the public records request folder, we have different postings. And you'll see that 10002 right here, we have a folder created for that specific posting, and then we have expired postings because we have a timer on it. So this just shows you that these were expired. Here's the posting that was approved. Now, in this scenario, we have two people involved. We have the city clerk that approves the request, and then we figured there might be a document manager or maybe a deputy clerk or somebody who would get routed the request, and they have to go hunt down that document. I would think that most times it's going to be a some person's got to review that document request and figure out exactly which record it is that's being requested, but we would be able to browse to the right, and we would say, okay, well, the record that's being requested is City Council, which is not in this repository, but we'll just grab a document anyway. Well, we'll just grab accounts payable, that's fine. So I'm going to copy that document and just paste it into my public records folder. And I'll just change titles, it's less confusing. So here's a copy of that request form that was generated. Submitted via Laserfiche Forms. Drop down into the Laserfiche Forms, or into the Laserfiche repository rather. And then I have my document that is referenced, that is needed. So what I'll do to make that available publicly is I'm going to run a business process, which is really cool. So this is an ad hoc workflow or automated task, and I have a button for it. And Eric wanted me to let you know that you can, Eric, my resident genius, again, is here in the office or in the room. You can make this button anything you want. So you want to have a smiley face, we happen to have a smiley face. You can make that your button, you can make it anything you want. So I happen to have all these multicolored buttons, and it does get kind of confusing. You can mouse over it, or you can have right here, you can see the actual text next to it. So real flexible, because you might have a whole lot of automated tasks after you leave this workshop. I can imagine you're going to have, you know, a user group, you have a lot of good ideas. So I'm going to make that publicly available just by clicking this button. And now, once this is done, it says, okay, successfully launched that and post it to WebLink. Done. So now it's not expired. You can see here that that folder is now available via WebLink, but it's not expired yet. We'll just go ahead and pull that open, take a look at it. Just a few forms open here. Let's see. There it is. So there's my one folder that's open. This was configured so it would be a public login just to show you. This is the only thing that's available publicly right now because we made it available. So presumably your user would have access to a bit more things than just that. But the user would be emailed that link to that exact document right there. In fact, I think we had it. Did we have that emailed out to us, Eric? Well, that'll take too long to load, but yes, in fact, we did. So we did receive an email. All along the way, we did get an email from for the city clerk to go ahead and process that by following a link. And then also the citizen just received an email being notified that this is available and be available for 30 days or something like that, and then it'll get cleaned up and removed from WebLink. Again, still a public document, but maybe you just don't want it out in WebLink forever and ever and ever. And by the way, this is WebLink 9. So if you're on WebLink 8, consider updating WebLink 9, and it does support streaming of video. So who knows what Laserfiche is thinking right now with support of streaming video, some really cool things that we might be able to do there. Any questions about this presentation? Anything you'd like? Any questions from the crowd? Or okay. Does that make sense to everybody regarding the business process and so forth? Okay. We did have a workflow and a business process that worked together in that particular presentation. So if we look at the workflow, let's just dissect really quick what happened there. This is our workflow designer. And we do have a public records request, and we have a public records request post to WebLink. So this is the business process right here. You'll note by the icon, that is what is the user action that launches that particular process to post it to WebLink. And here it is. It's just a few steps long to create that workflow. Eric, did you run into any challenges while making that workflow? Anything particular that was difficult?
No, not really. It's pretty straightforward. It just gets the field values, and when you execute it, it moves the folder to that shared to WebLink folder, and then creates a shortcut back to that knowledge forms folder where it started the workflow, just showing when it was posted. And then after, I think I have a delay set for 4 minutes. So 4 minutes later, it deletes that shortcut, moves it back, and says it's an expired posting now.
Okay.
So in theory, if we had it set up for 30 days, 30 days later, it would pull that off of the public portal and then just show that the posting expired, so somebody would look at it while it's still sitting there.
Okay. Well, I'll try to reiterate all that for the folks on the webinar. Yeah, so we updated the field, set a timer, and a shortcut back to that original document where it gets moved. And so, in theory right now, if it's been 4 minutes, if we go back to our Laserfiche repository, it should show as an expired link, in theory?
Yeah, it's been 4 minutes.
All right, well, let's update that folder and see. Oh, there it is. It's still posted. Okay, so it's still a shortcut. Hasn't quite been 4 minutes yet, so we'll keep an eye on that. Oh, there it goes. Well, hopefully you didn't blink. There it is. So there's our expired posting. Again, that was done through WebLink and also through this Laserfiche Forms business process, which is right here.
If you refresh that now, you wouldn't see that.
Oh, on WebLink? Okay, so we'll just do that really quick. All right. Permission denied. There you go. So it's giving me the permission denied on the refresh. All right. Nothing there. So there you go. So your public records request has now been removed from WebLink, and that's that. Okay, any last questions? Anybody come up with any ideas? All right, our next presentation, moving right along on schedule, is going to be contract management. Sean Scamp is going to show us a little bit about contract management with forms and word fill, amongst other things.
Just to let you know if I have questions from the web, or if there's an audience, just repeat it for itself fast, okay?
I want to rip the plug out. Hi. Thanks so much for being here again. What we're going to be looking at is a custom word fill process that we wrote at Cities Digital, as well as a specific contract notification workflow that, again, we also wrote. And what this is supposed to do is really to show you the potential of automating your contract management with Laserfiche. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about, before we jump right into the demonstration, I'm going to talk a little bit about why we would really be looking into automating our contract management with Laserfiche. As I mentioned earlier, you can search Laserfiche for any data related to incoming emails, any incoming documents that are being pushed through the system either by forms or either by or by drag and drop. And so ultimately what we're going to be looking at is, again, the workflow, forms, and the public portal. And so when we talk about automating contract management, we talk about what the primary issues are today. Ultimately, missing or lost contractual documents is a real problem these days for keeping everything on paper. Who knows where that paper is specifically filed, especially for a multi-year contract, and having to go double back and find that file can be sometimes an issue. Making sure that we have consistent versions of contracts. Obviously, sometimes we can have things that are countersigned or not countersigned, and addendums that have been added after the fact that we signed off on, but maybe we just don't have in our records the actual updated form that we need to keep. We have a lack of understanding of contractual obligations. Over the years, you forget things, and over the years, you're not 100% sure what that particular obligation was, or if the individuals involved actually met those obligations, and of course losing track of those details. Things like automatic renewals, I find, are a big issue with managing, especially again multi-year contracts. So ultimately, what do we want to accomplish? Ultimately, a project like this needs goals, and these are the reasons that we ultimately explore contract management automation. When we think about streamlining the passing of these contracts within the office and between vendors, what we want to accomplish is having the document get from point A, review, to point B, filed, as efficiently as possible with as few steps as possible. We also want to limit the number of hands that touch it while prioritizing the steps that are important. With Laserfiche Workflow, we're able to seek direct approval from the exact personnel through email requests, separated folders, or not yet approved or rejected contracts, and even utilizing the custom forms for contract entry to ease the burden of your office staff of getting the appropriate information into the system, into the eyes of the people that need it. This right here is an example of an email that we're actually going to look at be generated dynamically, but is the kind of email that you could see when a contract is coming up and waiting for approval. We also want to standardize our processes. When we streamline these processes with workflow and forms, it has the added benefit of standardizing our filing and naming structures. So here we see all of our contracts divided up appropriately, named in such a way as that are easily recognizable and easily findable. So we also have the added benefit of simply providing automatically generated shortcuts in the event that a contract needs to be referred to by multiple departments. Utilizing key pieces of information, of template information rather, we can easily identify the most important elements of the contract and define its actions by that information. By utilizing a custom form like the one that we're looking at here and the one we'll look at here in just a second, we can easily identify the key pieces of information like vendor, cost, key players in the said contract, rep, vendor, things like that, and then immediately combine attachments like licenses, contractual paperwork, or addendums into one central document that is immediately full text searchable and sent to the appropriate parties. This also makes tasks like following up on deliverables or ensuring that countersigned documents have been received a lot easier to finish through because we have reminders and escalation tasks available in workflow. Now, by automating the steps, we ensure that the contracts are being forwarded to the right hands each and every time. We can also ensure that each contract is signed by the party that actually needs to and not a proxy. Now, this doesn't sound like a huge issue, but in the offices that I've worked with, it can come up. It comes up more often than you might recognize. With custom forms, we can even create a simple approval inbox to collect all of the documents that require review for an individual. So this, combined with escalation and other workflow tools, ensures that decisions are made efficiently so that the process can keep moving. And of course, through the Laserfiche BPM, we can even track and see who is holding up the contract process, the approval process, by making sure that the individuals are actually getting to their tasks quickly and efficiently. Now, the worst part of dealing with a contract is remembering when to review them. This could be the exact email again that you see when it's time to renew a contract, or when when a contract is coming up for renewal or completion. And of course, the most important factor that we look at is really attaining ROI. So the above example looks at the real-world cost savings brought by automated document management. When you're dealing with copier contracts, a major point of pain is automatic renewals. Who here has been involved in a copier contract before? Okay, like 3 people. So that's that's a little surprising. The clerks conference is going on in La Crosse today, so that maybe that's why. But essentially, a big point of pain is making sure that you catch a copier contract in the appropriate period of time to review, and then cancel or renew that contract with terms that are actually beneficial to you. What I found during my time in the copier industry is that individuals typically forgot at the end of a 5-year contract, which is to be expected. It's a 5-year contract. Well, basically, if we just had a simple notification that that contract was coming up to term in 90 days, what we could do is we could avoid the horrific 1-year auto renewals that end up growing in cost based on the escalation of those contracts. The average escalation of a copier contract on an annual basis is 5%. So at a typical $500 a month lease, which is a fairly common cost for a city or a county, then what you're looking at is an actual savings of over $3,000 just on one copier on one contract, just through a simple notification. Everything available right there through workflow. And this is where we're going to actually review today here in just a second. Now I'm going to go ahead and get out of. I lost my. I lost my my screen there. My apologies. Oh boy. Looks like it went to another screen. Can we just let's see? Yep. Screen resolution. Just cancel it. To everyone watching the simulcast, I apologize. It's not showing. Well, everything that you see is just fine. Everything that I'm seeing is nothing. Perfect. Okay. Thank you, Patrick. I'm going to get out of this so I can go to this. Okay, and it looks like we're back up. Apologies, everyone. So we're going to look at 2 things here. Obviously, there's 2 sides of contract management: the actual generation of the contract and then the notification process. So we're going to look at a process right here that is basically creating a brand new Word form all through Laserfiche forms. Now, this could be the way that you generate a contract internally, and I think you'll be able to see exactly what I'm talking about here in just a second. Now, this could be something that we could do for agenda management, really any sort of Word document that we need to generate. This could be an appropriate process to look into. But basically, with this form, what I'm going to do is create a contract template. So basically, all I'm going to do is I'm going to start here with just entering a little bit of information here. Now again, what we're going to be doing is creating a Word document filled with information compiled off of Laserfiche forms. Of course, I am the submitter. And let's just, actually I already used Jefferson Street, and for an example, let us use City of Wausau. So the City of Wausau is going to be, actually, that doesn't make sense. So let's do Comcast. So Comcast is going to be the name of our vendor here today, and this is going to be, let's say, landline phone. And then we can go ahead and enter a deliverable on that contract that Comcast now has to deliver on. So again, our monthly phone line, and let's say it's $2,000 a month. So just a couple of bits of information that really anyone can enter, even someone that is not intimately involved in the contract process. And they click submit, and you'll notice we have this link pop up. When I click this link, I have the ability to download this document. And I click this, And now I've got a brand new Word document that was generated. You can see our fancy new logo here. You can see all of our existing template information, and then we have all of the information that I entered into the Laserfiche form will show up in the place that's appropriate. So you see we have Comcast, we have landline phone, monthly phone line, $2,000. Now, as you can see, this is a relatively simple form where there's not actually a whole lot of information that's being communicated. But take out something like this and change that out with everything that has your the fine print that you typically have in your contracts. Just take all the information that you typically request of your vendors to sign off on, and go ahead and put that into the Word document, and have the form populate the information like name, like vendor, like person signing off on the contract, and it can do the exact same thing. So with this way, we have just generated a full Word document off of a Laserfiche form, even though I had no ability to actually go out and seek the signature for that document or actually move forward with that contract. But now I have created something that is entirely dynamic that I can now forward out to anyone else outside the organization. And again, this can be used for something like agenda management or anything like that. But this is a really cool process. And now that we've generated our contract, I'd like to show you how we can now get that contract into Laserfiche and notify it. Lost your VM here, Patrick. Oh, there we are.
Stay up here.
I need the backup of our dashing president. So what we're going to do now that we've seen generation, is take a look at the other side of the coin. So Laserfiche is ultimately the perfect tool for tracking our expiring or renewing contracts automatically. And what we're going to do is take a look at uploading a contract into Laserfiche, something that was submitted to us by an outside party. Then we're going to see how Laserfiche will notify an administrator of an expiring or renewing contract. Now this could be a document that is generated via our word fill process, like I just said, but for ease, let's just drag and drop something here. Imagine this is a brand new contract that came from Comcast or came from a different vendor. And this is going to emulate the process of, again, an outside vendor has a contract that we need to add into our system. So we'll go ahead and drag it into our new contracts folder. Of course, Laserfiche is going to ask for a little bit of template information. Now, of course, we know this is a contract. We've got a few required fields that we're going to go ahead and fill in. Now, let's see, we don't have anything for Hudson Cleaners in our system. So this will show you that this will actually dynamically generate the folder and all of the subfolders as well. Contract amount, let's say it's $500. Start date, of course, will be today. This will be part of our building maintenance, so it goes from the proper, it'll come from the proper budget. And let's say that this is an automatically renewing contract. Now you'll notice that I can't enter any information here into the notification fields or the expiration field. That's because this is something that's going to be automatically defined based on what I've chosen here for renewal type. And we'll see this being filled in a little bit later. I'll hit OK. Laserfiche will pull the contract in, OCR it, make sure that it's creating all of the proper information here on the side.
That OCR takes a little bit of time to run, and everybody probably knows that from Laserfiche. It has to fire up the OCR engine. It takes a few seconds. The good news is if you have Avante or Rio, you've got the distributed computing cluster you can always enable. So consider that. If you want more information on that, let us all know. And you can actually schedule that OCR to happen in the back end by off hours. Laserfiche included that. So.
But of course, we already have the OCR running, so it took an extra second. So now we'll go back here into our building maintenance subfolder structure, and of course now there's Hudson Cleaners. We've got a brand new subfolder where our brand new contract exists. And you'll notice that now the notification date and the expiration and renewal date have updated. So of course the expiration date is 1 year from today. It's an annual contract, but the notification date is just 30 days out. Now if this was a non-automatic renewal, then this would have alerted us 90 days out, so as to give us the extra time to make sure that the new contract was in place before the old one expired. But now that I've entered the contract in the system, now I need to be notified of it. So I'm going to run a business process here that is going to emulate the passing of time, so that we can actually see how this is going to look when you receive your notifications in 1 year. Give me just 1 second. Of course, running our GoToWebinar and our GoToMeeting along with our multiple VMs does take quite a bit of processing power. So, just 1 second, and this will be up. Will be finished off. So now that I've run this process, I'll actually be receiving an email here shortly. I don't have my Outlook open. So let me go ahead and just open that up real quick. While we're waiting, does anyone have any quick questions that I can answer just real fast?
Or really slow. It's okay. We're good. One thing I thought was interesting about the Word form fill, which Sean was showing, is that it's something that's applicable for a lot of different use cases. It could be anything from correspondence. It could be filling out a contract, which is what Sean showed. And it could also be filling out we filled out last time. An agenda, city council minutes, perhaps. You might actually want to fill that out and have it populate right down into that standard template where you can edit that Word document, and then of course you would just snapshot it back to Laserfiche or wherever you would need to go from there.
Actually, one thing I didn't mention about the Word fill, so thank you for circling back to there, is actually one of the nice things about utilizing our Word fill integration is with everything that's with Laserfiche, putting that process through Laserfiche forms, putting that process through Laserfiche forms ensures that the generation of that document is actually happening through Laserfiche. So any changes that are made to that document are actually tracked with version control or audit trail. So it actually is taking stock of what changes are being made to that document. So for audit purposes, or to just see who actually made said changes, you'd actually be able to track that with the Word form fill integration. So I pulled up my my Outlook here, and what I received was a contract expiration notification email. Now these are a number of other contracts that we've created in the past, so ignore how many there are here. But as you can see, here is the actual contract that I uploaded. You can see the date matches 1 year from today. So this email is alerting me to all of these contracts that are coming up to term within the next within the next 90 days. But you'll also notice that we have this link. Now when we open this link, what's going to happen is Laserfiche is actually going to compile all of these contracts that are included within this email and collect them into a folder, a temporary folder, for me to review those contracts, make decisions on what we're going to be doing with those contracts, move them along different new business process, new workflows, what have you. And that folder is actually going to go away after a certain period of time. So it's just for that particular review. And here's my new folder. So Workflow, once I clicked on that link, Workflow went ahead and generated that folder so that I could see all of these contracts that are all coming up. And of course, here is my Hudson Cleaners contract that I signed off on for $500. And so if I want to go ahead and either renew that contract without any fuss because I'm comfortable with the terms, or if I'd like to maybe go back and renegotiate, or maybe I'm not happy with their service and I want to find a new cleaners altogether. Well, I have the option of doing that with absolutely no downside to your city or your organization because you got to the contract in a timely fashion. So this is just some examples of what we can do, some really simple tasks that we can actually accomplish with Laserfiche. A couple of other ideas that we're currently working on is actually tracking deliverables within a contract. Actually, one of our counties here, and I won't say who they are, they're smiling. They're actually working on a project with us that we're hopefully going to be presenting in a user group sometime in the near future. Near future, when we actually put that whole process together, it's very exciting. But it's showing you that even though we've got this really great processes, we're still looking for new ways to innovate and continue to go down that path of automating contract management.
Hey Eric, can you pull up for just a second? I was wondering, can you pull up that email real quick? Eric, can you talk a little bit about how you created that email with the table with the?
Oh yeah.
Sorry, just trying to get the window out of the way.
Eric, can you stand over? Stand over this way.
There you go.
All right, so for this table, if you look at it, you can see a lot of different stack information. You can see the city's digital is the vendor for all of these. At the top, at least, as you scroll down, you'll see more and more different ones, specifically which vendor it was, renewal type, and expiration date. And if you remember right, each one of those was its own field on the template. So what I did to make this table is you can actually take HTML tags and turn them into a multi-value token. So to do something like this, I just took the 3 separate tokens and I set them as a single line in that multi-value token, and I used HTML formatting for each cell. And then for each entry that it returns, it creates a new line in that multi-value token. And then when you put that multi-value token in the workflow, or not the workflow, in the email, you can choose to apply formatting to it. And anybody who's applied formatting in workflow for these tokens knows that it's usually .NET formatting and it's usually for dates. So it's like two. Yeah, entry not found. I have it just set to clean up based on a timer, the one we saw this morning.
Any other questions from anyone in the room? Any questions from anyone online? Okay. Wonderful. I really appreciate everyone listening. If anyone has any thoughts or maybe some other ways that they would like to explore how to maybe integrate some of these processes into their own systems, of course, we're available now not only for questions and answers during the user group here, but we'll also be available afterwards. So now